pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move forward on the meeting, I would like to recognize and welcome to the board the newly elected officials who are in the audience today. Terry Strange. Dennis Mills and Bertha Underhill. Okay, before we go any further, we'll just take roll call first.
Take roll.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
President Ratterman.
Present.
Director Dean.
Here.
Director Dooling.
Here.
And we have Director Stump absent, and we have Director Davidson on teleconference as we speak.
And we're going to, and Jeff is on the phone here with us. The reason we're late here today is we've been discussing an issue that's before us, and we're looking at whether or not we have taken care of all requirements under the Brown Act, and our council is going to.
There's been an issue with we had to discuss this morning about the teleconference of one director, and at this point we don't believe that the director can participate in the meeting, and so we're going to ask that the teleconference portion be terminated.
He can listen, can he?
He cannot participate. He can, if he want to make it available, somebody listen, but he cannot participate at all.
Director Davidson, do you understand that?
No, I couldn't understand it at all.
Is there any explanation as to why? I'm not questioning your decision.
Yes,
I'm just saying I don't understand why.
There's whether or not the Brown Act requires that where the teleconference meeting be publicly accessible, and where Mr. Davidson is questionable whether it's publicly accessible, because it's our understanding he's beyond the security gates at the airport, and so you would need a ticket to access him.
Okay, to satisfy my curiosity then, are all teleconferencing meetings like this improper to have the teleconferencing participate?
No, as long as they're at a publicly accessible facility. Even at your home, as long as you open your home up to the public, should they show desire to come in.
So is the issue, because I am beyond security right now. So is that what you're saying, that if I'm beyond the security, that's not public location?
Currently, yes, because you're beyond the security, it's not publicly accessible, and then there's a question about posting of the agenda at that location prior to the meeting.
And that posting requirement, Jeff, is 72 hours in advance.
Right, okay, all right, well then I don't want to mar the meeting any further then, I apologize. I certainly wanted to vote today, but I'll just let it go with that. And the last thing I'll say is I want to thank Bob and Don and Dennis for the years of hard work, and I certainly look forward to working with Dennis, Terry, and Bertha. And so with that, I'll sign off.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, guys.
I had forgotten about that. When I had to vote teleconference right after my knee surgery, I remember that Mona had said that we had to announce my house as one of the places that people could come to.
Right.
Which we did. So now I understand why.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on. Item 2 on our agenda, public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. Any public comment today? Mr. Duncan.
Just for a quick background, my wife and I live alone. Our entire yard is on low-flow systems and timers. We carry buckets from baths and sinks to supplement the exterior watering. We just opened our latest bill from CCWD and found that we owe $433.41, and our usage is far lower than last year. $433 for the privilege of being able to take a shower and flush a toilet. We have had mortgages smaller than that amount of money. This is insane, and only can be called one thing. This is theft. Thus, my number one desire is to call the sheriff's office and have the 4 directors who approved this rate increase last year arrested. But this is only one example of how CCWD, through this board's direction, is taking ratepayer money. The other glaring example is of almost the $18 million budget. Almost exactly half is dedicated to payroll-related expenses for 60 employees and some retirees. That means that ratepayers are being forced to pay almost $150,000 per employee per year, and this board has approved the latest labor contract and the budget. Still, this is not the full extent of the theft. This board also approved stealing $181,000 from the R&R fund into the general fund in the latest budget, which can only be called, in my opinion, excuses. I understand that once hired by this agency, employees essentially have it financially made for life, but is this fair to ratepayers? Employees need to look at those retirement statements and even their paychecks and ask how many hundreds or thousands of ratepayers have to suffer with bills like this for them to enjoy that level of affluence. I challenge the incoming directors to work to bring some sanity to this level of theft. Ways have to be found to bring down water and sewer rates. These rates cannot be allowed to continue. And lastly, you have on this agenda item 5A, which needs to be tabled or removed from this agenda. The arrogance of this board knows no bounds, and this board obviously does not care if more ratepayer monies are again wasted on this action. To consider approving this action after the election, when only a few weeks prior to 3 new directors taking their seats, is simply unbelievable. I would encourage the incoming directors, if this is approved, to place this item on the next agenda and reverse the action, thus returning the candidate to candidate status. Plus, you have to wonder why any candidate would even consider accepting this offer, given the circumstances. That by itself should disqualify this person. Also, any seating director that votes for this should either be recalled or at the very least have this action known to voters in the next scheduled election. Other than that, I'm perfectly happy with CCWD.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any further public comment? Seeing none, move on to our consent agenda, item 3A. The following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that any item be removed for later discussion. The items are 3A, approval of minutes for the board meetings of October 8th, October 13th, October 14th, and October 22nd, 2014. 3B, ratify claim summary number 512, secretarial fund in the amount of $1,408,703.81 for October 2014. Item number 3B, updating position titles within management/confidential unit.
I would like to pull 3A to discuss the minutes on October 8th. Otherwise, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any public comment on the consent agenda item? Okay, we're going to,
I'd like to pull 3B.
okay, and we're going to pull 3B,
You say B or D?
B, like as in boy.
Okay.
Do we have a updated motion?
Well, the motion stands for the balance of the consent agenda.
Okay, and we have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second for approval of item 3C. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Excuse me.
Opposed? Carries 302. And we've pulled 3A.
3A on October, for the minutes from October 8th. Yeah, on the discussion on Blue Lake Springs, which would be, sorry. I've misplaced the agenda item, but the question that I was raising was the statement that Directors Dooley and Dean saw possible benefit to co-ownership of a well with Blue Lake Springs in the event of an emergency situation. That wasn't the entire issue. I felt that and I thought I was fairly adamant about it, that we should, if we're going to have a well drilled on our property, be the owner of the well, as opposed to having co-ownership of something that is basically on our property, using our water as defined by groundwater rights, and that we have a relationship with Blue Lake Springs which would allow them to purchase water from us, perhaps at a discount if they're willing to front the money to drill the well and stuff like that. So I understand the importance of having backup and redundancy for emergency provisions, but I really don't want to see CCWD enter into any more partnerships than they have to. That could, at some point in time in the future, come back and bite us. And we've already known what kind of issues we've been faced with regarding Blue Lake Springs and other contracts and MOUs that we've made over the past years. And that's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
That being said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 3A.
Okay, we can make those amendments to the record, and
That's fine.
and again, let's on item 3A, we have a motion
Made a motion.
to approve. I'll second the motion.
That was subject to the changes,
Subject to the
Okay.
changes, yeah, we made changes to the record.
or additions, actually.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 3A carries 302. And item 3B, ratify claim summary number 512, Secretarial Fund. Future Director Underhill.
I think my title is Director-elect.
Director-elect
Underhill.
Underhill.
Evans Pass. Good morning. The claim summary. The claim summary has been an absolute, very large item of interest every time it comes up, every month. And I've seen it, over the years go up and up and up. Like, we used to see it when the figure was 800,000. Now it's well over $1 million, and it's $1,400,000 this month. One of the suggestions that I would have is the fact that I see whereby you've gotten a summary of disbursements, expenditures we reimbursed from other agencies, expenditures to be reimbursed from grant agreements, and I'm assuming that those big money amounts are the ones from the grants that are being dispersed. And so what would be the problem with putting just a notation or just the letter G by that amount of money on the claim summary? I wouldn't think that it would be time-consuming, just so that we, as we go through reviewing it in our board packet, we know exactly what that means. And
Aren't there letters corresponding? Those letters are throughout on page, look on page 1 of 9, 2 of 9, they're on the right, the far right column. Right,
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, those are already there.
Problem solved. There we go.
Oh, okay, well, great, thank you, Scott, that was a great job as a president. Okay, my next question on the claim summary is the fact that, again, this goes back to the fact that we're approving the expenses after they've been paid. And we still haven't figured out a way where, you know, we can approve those before they're paid.
What kind of expenses are you talking about?
No, you know, the regular expenses being submitted by the fellows out in the field.
I see. Well, they've been budgeted, so,
Yeah, they've been budgeted, so that's,
so we shouldn't have to, I
So
mean,
we
we approve
shouldn't have to-
the claim summary, but we don't have to approve each individual expenditure.
okay. So as long as those figures are included in the budget for the year, then.
Yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, they would be. Otherwise, it would have to come back to the board for, you remember that.
Oh, and we can't look at that, that would be changing policy and what is taken into account by who has a financial authority sounds like what you might want to look into, is how much financial authority does each member of the staff have at CCWD? And yeah, that's something that can be looked at in the future, going
Okay.
forward.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll motion that we approve that
Second.
item.
3B.
Okay, we got a motion on 3B and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 302. Okay, moving on, item 4, old business, there's nothing to report. And on to item 5, new business, appointment of district general manager. We do have, for those of you who don't have this, there was no item, nothing in our packet on this item, but I think we have a handout. Does everyone who wants a handout on this item have it in their possession? Do we have Mona, do we have okay, they're on the table out front in the lobby. Feel free to.
Can we take 5 minutes to do that?
I don't think we'll need a full 5, will we? We'll hold the meeting until everyone gets back in the room now. Okay, as we move this item forward, this is an item I think is of interest to most of you in the room. Probably a reason that we've got a crowd here. This process started in May 2014.
There's not enough copies.
Here's an extra.
This item.
Need one? Something this important should have copies for everybody.
Okay, and we're in the. I think Stacy just left to get more copies. Okay. We have more copies of the item coming. There'll be Stacy just left the room to make additional copies of the handouts for this item. In May of 2014, this board released our current general manager. The decision that was made at that time, and this is not we tried to take this out of the political realm and make sure that this was not a political process. The goal was to do what is right for the district, and what was right for the district at that point in time was to appoint a general manager, an interim general manager for a period of time. The logical choice, and as has been in several cases throughout the years, has been Larry Diamond, who was chosen interim general manager, like I said, in May of 2014. At that time that he was appointed, he was also doing the job of the water resource manager, as well as his own job as assistant general manager. We had budgeted for a water resource manager, and the process had been, actually interviews had already been taken place. So we were short one person already. Interviews were also taking place at that time for a district engineer, which that position has since been filled in the interim between May 2014 and now. So we're, at this point in time, we are still short an assistant general manager, as Larry is filling in as interim general manager, and we are still short a position of a resource manager, which a lot of work is going on in that position. A lot of work is being done on a weekly, monthly basis. So there's a little bit of juggling going on and short some personnel. With that in mind, this board agreed to move forward on this process, knowing it's at least a 6-month process. So we went ahead and pushed forward with hiring a recruiter, and that was to help speed up the process, to try and make it go as quickly as possible. We also started advertising immediately. We were able to get many request for a recruiter. We chose a recruiter. I think that was in late June. Brent Ives of BHI Recruiting was involved. Mr. Ives is a teacher of governance, teaches classes in governance through the California Special District Association. He's also the mayor of Tracy. He assisted us in a recruiting. We had over 30 candidates apply for the position. Many great candidates, and 9 of those candidates made the A pool, which were top-of-the-line candidates, qualified, overqualified, and even though we heard from public and members of the public that we most likely wouldn't get any good candidates with the circumstances we had, and not having a general manager and knowing that the board would have some turnover at the end of the year, it was said who in their right mind would apply for this position, knowing what's going on at the district. That certainly wasn't the case. Like I said, we had some awesome candidates, and we were. So we chose, out of those 9, we gathered ourselves together and chose 5. 5 of the top 30 that had applied, and we had 5 that were invited for in-person interviews. By the time we arrived at the time for those interviews, 2 of those candidates had already dropped out and taken other positions. They were available. Other districts swooped them up, and they're no longer available to us. In the meantime, we did have an additional candidate throw his hat into the ring, and we were able to interview a total of 4 candidates for this position. This board did meet and all this has taken place in closed session, which is why I'm trying to explain what has taken place through this process. We've had 3 closed sessions, and I know that there was members of the public that were concerned what we were doing and how we were doing it. The process took place. We had a closed session meeting on the night of the 13th, and at that meeting we decided how we were going to conduct the interviews. One of the things that we decided to do in this round of general manager search is to involve staff. Staff is who works with this person, and it might have been a mistake in the last general manager search that we hadn't involved staff, and that's where a lot of problems that came up with the previous general manager were problems between him and staff, and it wasn't working out. The best thing for the district at that time was to rid ourselves of that problem, and we did so reluctantly, even though all 5 of us knew, or 4 of us knew, we'd be up for election in the same year. We tried not to make it a political process, tried to move forward with doing the right thing for the district. That wasn't working out. We needed to do something new. We moved forward and tried to do this process as quickly as possible. Here we are at this point in time. Out of those candidates, the 4 candidates that we interviewed after meeting on the 13th, the interviews were scheduled for the 14th here in this room. Staff had a separate room down the hallway where 5, 6 key management staff personnel met with the 4, interviewed them. We interviewed the same 4 in this room, and at the end of the day, put our heads together, and it was an obvious choice. Someone that we thought would be an awesome fit for the district and would work well with staff, would work well with anybody. We didn't. We don't think it will be a problem moving forward, and I do think that this is a great, this person that we've looked at it would be a great fit for the district and could work with any board, including this board and the next board, and we certainly hope that can happen. With that said, that pretty much brings us to the topic of, and I think you all have in front of you, or everyone who's interested anyway, has a copy of our agenda item, and you can see that an offer has been made to Dave Egerton with the Amador County Water Agency, the El Dorado County Water Agency. Thank you, Bob. And so that's where we are today. At this point in time, we were able to negotiate with him, negotiate a contract subject to approval by the board. This item is in front of us today to decide whether or not it will be approved. We're going to be voting on the contract. And with that said, I'd like to open this up to board discussion, and then we will have time for public comment before any vote is taken place. Would my fellow directors wish to say anything on this subject?
I'll just
We're
echo.
small in number, aren't we? Just too few targets up here. Do you want me to start? I'll start. As everybody remembers, I was certainly the most vocal director with regard to putting off the hiring of a general manager until the new board was seated, understanding that was a situation that would probably prolong the getting of a general manager in place. But as a member of a board, I'm obligated and committed to following the will of the board. I mean, as an individual, I may have my opinion, but as a board member, I have to follow the dictates and the direction that the board has taken. I reluctantly went into the hiring process, and quite frankly, I know Scott was very positive about the people that we had on application. I wasn't that high on them. The application that was submitted by Dave Egerton came, from my perspective, like a bolt of lightning out of the blue. Given the issues that I've had to deal with in the last few months at CCWD, I actually called him on the phone and I said, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this?" I said, I have to say in all honesty that I'm not confident that the board understands what you would bring to this agency. And I facetiously said, "Why would you lower yourself to this level?" That being said, I've been very, very high on Dave Egerton. I think he's in a sense kind of a protege with me, because I've worked with him very closely over the last several years on the Headwaters Management Project. He's been a fellow member on the Region 3 board. I have every bit of faith that he is an individual who, if given the opportunity, will bring CCWD to a level that I'd hope that it'd be able to achieve. I feel very, very good about David, and most likely had Had he not made the application, I would have still maintained the position that I maintained, and that is that we should have waited. But this was an opportunity that I just didn't want to lose. And I apologize to those who felt that I maybe was the one clear voice representing the interests of the people. But I think once you have the opportunity to get to know him, and once you have an opportunity to get to work with him, I think you'll feel the same way I do. And that's why I've been supportive of Dave Egerton.
Thank you, Bob.
The thing that I like about Dave is he has a lot of exposure to hydro experience, which we have several projects, hydro projects. And he has also a lot of water experience. And I was kind of lukewarm on those until, as Bob said, Dave put his hat in the ring. And I think had we delayed this, we'd be starting all over from scratch again, and it'd be another 6 months at least before we'd get a general manager. We don't know what type of qualifications we would get, quality we would get. I actually am quite high on Dave, thinking that he's probably one of the most well-qualified candidates that I have seen come along in a long time. And I think staff is high on him, and I am too. So that being said, is it time to make a motion?
Sure.
I'll move that we accept this contract for Dave Egerton.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, been discussed at the board level. I'd like to request any public comment on this item.
Can I ask where the probationary period is within this contract?
You could come to the microphone, please.
Can I ask where the probationary period is in this contract? Quick looking through it, I don't see it. If the new board doesn't agree with you, it looks to me like it would cost the agency $80,000. So there has to be a probationary period within any contract. I mean, that's just common sense on any contract like this.
Joe Kelly, a little concerned over section 7 of the paid time off and management leave, the 22 days of paid time off during each, with limited to 65 days. Later on in there, it also talks about 15 days paid management leave per fiscal year shall accrue up to a maximum of 30 days, 240 hours. I realize it's all boilerplate, government boilerplate. It's also what costs us so much money for government entities to be here. It needs to start changing. The other thing is retirement part of it. I see the 100%, he pays his, you pay yours. The last sentence on that, the district and the employee shall each contribute into Social Security on behalf of the employee in accordance with applicable federal law and regulations. If he's on CalPERS, if he's not, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand the people that are in the CalPERS cannot collect Social Security, or they get a reduction of Social Security. So, and then does this retirement thing, talking about the contributions, what about the medical, dental, and vision? My other concern is, the last concern is, it's a strange deal, and I've always found it to be rather odd. Severance pay. In this contract, you're required to give him 6 months if you want to send him on his way without good cause, whatever good cause is, or without good cause. Yet he only has to give you 30 days to leave. So that's my issue. It's all about the money. Someone that's going to be getting the $59,000 some odd dollars per year. I just find this overwhelming to me, this concept of all the money going forward, all these issues of they can collect all this time, and then it also, it gives them more time to be off during the year if they want to use it, rather than leaving it as a collected item for later, or run it out, wait till one part of the end of the year or something of that sort, then run it out and start over again. So it just, I can't see why the ratepayers would be for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I can say in response to a couple comments that the boilerplate language, and a lot of this is boilerplate language. Most of it is very similar to what he's currently receiving at his current job, and most of it is very, very familiar to our past 2 or 3 contracts with general managers here at this district.
So, excuse me then, so what you're saying is his current job, so is this ratcheting up his pay raise from what the past director got, or past manager got, to what this new manager's getting? 'Cause
No, he is getting less than our previous general manager. He is getting a little bit more than what he's currently receiving.
okay, and then, so then how does since we're talking apples to apples, how then do all the benefits for what he'd be receiving from you compared to what he's receiving now, or from his past employment?
We didn't look into his benefits package at his current position, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Riggs. I'm from Genuine. Putting the money aside, legal issues, he's going to be accountable for that. But just some basic principle. How would 2 of you folks coming to a job and you want to continue the same ideology? Let's go along, let's get along. Let's not shake the podium up a little bit, because you 3 believe that's what's going to be the right thing to do for the next 3. The reason there's some of you leaving, because people don't want to keep going the way it has been. And to me, it's a big sign of disrespect, inconsideration, just on the basic principle, as you have for many years now, that you're on an assumption that you know better and you should tell those folks what they should do. That's why there has been a change on this board, the majority change, because people are not happy the way business has been conducted by this organization. And your judgments, as far as manager goes, going back a couple of years, is not exactly exemplary. When people realize what you folks been done, and your judgment is pathetic. That's why the majority of the board is leaving. And for you to assume the 3 new, the majority of the board, you're gonna judge for these folks. Folks, grow a pair, get reality. You have not been conducting this organization that either increase trust, respect, and openness. This is a bad, bad move. And I feel sorry for the gentleman. He might be the second coming of Christ, as far as I know. But it's not for you to judge. You guys getting your butts out of here. And there's a reason for it. A majority of them is leaving. Think about it, just in your own self. Would you want this obligation put on you if you were coming in there? Wouldn't you think there might be a resentment? And it's not going to be fair for the new gentleman who's going to be, you're going to vote for, because I think it's got fixed, okay? Because he might be coming in to be questionable. You might think it's the right thing, and your track record has not been that great. And you imposing your judgment on that poor guy who's coming in. So think about it. You got to grow a pair, folks. What you have to go along, get along. Take a look at the Board of Supervisors. What did it get it? It took a while. It might take a while over here. But folks, you're not walking on water. Don't impose your will, your values on a new set of board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on this item?
First of all, I do have to say that I don't remember Dave personally, but I do recognize his name, and this is from my last couple of terms with CCWD. So That being said, I had to disclose that. I do want to know, we do have legal obligations to post this contract up on our website, is that correct? Should that website, or should this contract have been up on our website for 72 hours before it was made public?
The agenda has to be posted 72 hours. The items that are provided to the board have to be provided to the public at the same time they're provided to the board. This was provided to the board this morning.
Okay, so the contract doesn't have to be up on our website,
No, the agenda item does.
just the agenda item, okay.
And it has to be posted, it is posted on the website. It has to be posted at public places. It doesn't necessarily have to be posted on the website, but it usually is because that's now easily accessible for everybody.
I just wanted to make sure that all of our bases were covered. I did have to, one statement that Scott made in his explanation of the choosing of our general manager was the fact that you had how many, 9 people that applied?
Over 30.
No, there was a
Over
lot.
30, but you narrowed it down to
An A group of about 9.
a group of about 9.
Yeah, the A's, considered to be the qualified, meeting qualified and overqualified candidates that reached the number 9.
Okay, but you said a few minutes ago that you wanted to do this because the better ones would leave, they wouldn't stick around, waiting for a judgment on it?
Yeah, they were looking for a job, and other jobs that were out there were also being filled at the same time as ours. Correct.
So that was part of the reason that you chose to act?
Yes, that is, yes, you're repeating myself very well, Bertha.
Okay, but, didn't you also say that he came in at, towards the end, and he ended up being the choice, and he's a very, qualified person, and so that, again, Bob talked to him about why he would come at, such a late date.
It wasn't such a late date, it was, why would you want to work here?
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a difference.
Okay. Scott, you made another statement that you were going to be asking the new board for their feelings about your choice. Is that going to be done in a special session, or, just how are you going to get our feedback?
What comment are you talking about?
You made a statement in one of, somewhere that you were going to talk to the new board about.
I was going to discuss the general manager position before you took office, and yes, I still plan on doing that.
Okay, so this again is going to be after the fact.
It'll be before you take office, yes, exactly what I said, Bertha.
Okay. I still have to say that I'm not going to use the words that Peter just used, but I just want to say that I think that we should have been brought into the process, or, figured out some way, held the hiring off for another month. We're going to be at our first meeting on December 17th, is that correct? The 17th of the...
It was decided by this board that the best thing for the district, not for the politicians, but the best thing for the district would be to get a general manager as quickly as possible so that the district could continue running without juggling 3 jobs with 1 person. That's what I said.
The politicians, that's what we're considered.
That's what I'm considered, and that's what we're considered, and that's who was making the decision on this, that we weren't going to try and do the best thing for ourselves. We're going to do the best thing for the district as stewards of our community.
And by virtue of the fact that we were elected by our ratepayers, we're going to be the new stewards that are going to be going forward, but you chose to make this decision on your own without us.
The process was started in May, and we decided that if we were going to decide this process, if we were going to delay and sit on our hands and do nothing, for those 6 months, we would actually be, the process would actually take longer than a year from that time, and we'd be out of not having a general manager running the show here for over a year. And we decided that would not be the best thing for the district or the ratepayers or the people of this community. That was a decision that was made by the board back in May.
Okay, so I'm asking for a delay of 1 more month until the new board members are seated. to
It
make
would
that
not be a
decision.
delay of a month, it would be a delay of at least 6 months if we decided to not proceed with this process, I think. There's hardly any way in the world we can get start the process over and get a general manager in a month.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but are we not legally bound? The contract's been signed?
Contract's been signed?
No, the contract is
No,
not.
we have not approved it yet.
Pardon me?
The board has to approve the contract. He has signed the contract indicating his willingness to accept.
He has signed the contract that he's willing to accept, or the negotiations that you have.
The contract that's been handed out, he has signed, his signature's on it. He's willing to accept that contract.
Okay?
Let me say something. Bert, I'm entirely sympathetic with what you're saying, except there is an existential quality we need to consider here. We have a candidate that you would hire, I know, and it's the old classic carpe diem, seize the day. We had an opportunity to do something that I felt was a situation that wouldn't come by us again in any time in the near future. It was a decision that I felt I had to make despite my protestations over the last 6 months. And I think that you'll be pleased with this decision. I genuinely do. And I just hope that you give it a shot.
And I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying that I want to have a chance to vote.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay?
Hey, guys. My name's Terry Strange, Director-elect. And I do want to make a couple of comments. They're my own personal opinion at this point in time. I am familiar with the challenges that this board has had in the past, working with, first of all, recruiting, then choosing, then managing a general manager. And it's disappointing not only to myself, but a lot of other folks. I do have a lot of respect for what you guys have done and the public service commitment that you've made, and I hope that I can live up to that as well. However, again, I do want to voice my opinion that I feel as though the decision that you're making today, which apparently to me has already been decided, is premature and it should be held. And the reason for that is that, again, the number one responsibility that I will have as a new director is to serve the public and look out for the public's best interest. And in doing so, I think it's very important to engage the public as well as always have, again, in the back of my mind, what is best for the public. And my experience and knowledge of this board and the number of general managers that they've hired and wrote severance checks for is very disappointing to not only myself, but also the people that I will be serving in the public as a whole. I would recommend that you hold off, not necessarily looking at this as a 6-month to a 1-year process, but if David actually walks on water, as it's been explained to me, then I think that it's very likely that he would also be our choice. And that would be something that could happen in a very quick, a relatively quick period of time. I don't know what David's situation is right now with El Dorado Irrigation, if that's who he's with. I don't know if he's looking for other general manager positions. I don't know if that's something that he would want to do, as far as hold off until we have a chance, the new board has a chance to engage him. Because you have to also look at it from his position. He's met the current board. He feels as though at least the decisions that he's made is based upon the current board and the district. He does not know me from Adam. He has no idea of what my perspectives as a director in providing direction and guidance to the general manager, which is a very important part of what my position and responsibilities would be, and something I'm going to take very, very serious, probably to the degree that no other director has in the past. That's the goal in the sight that I have for myself. providing the general manager the guidance and direction with the other team of directors. And I think that's what has happened in the past and the shortcomings that has resulted in general managers revolving doors in this facility. Again, that's my opinion, based upon my relatively limited amount of knowledge. So I'm not here to say that it's gonna take 6 months. In fact, I would hope that it would take 1 or 2 board meetings and the opportunity to meet with David one time. But also consider, again, David's position. He's gonna wanna know us. He's gonna wanna know what we stand for. And maybe he would feel as though, boy, with that strange guy and the comments he just made, maybe this isn't the best decision for me. I doubt that'll happen. But at the same time, those are the things that have to go into your consideration. And I can tell you that if I'm disappointed in the process that happens, I will again consider what is in the best interest of the public in this process in any actions that I'll take as a board member. I would also open it up for questions if you have any specific questions of me at this time. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to write a $80,000 check and say, sorry, it just didn't work out. We've done that much too much often in the past. And if I was in your position, I don't know that, considering a new board coming in, I'm not sure that I would make the decision that you have in front of you and apparently have already decided on. But, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Terry.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dennis Phelps, also Director-elect. I also see this going back into August of this year. You remember I did a very long dissertation on the importance of the relationship between directors and their general manager. There's a dynamic that has to occur with each board and each manager. And the history of the board over the last 10 years hasn't really resulted in a whole lot of good results with the amount of expense that we have undertaken in the moving of our managers in and out, almost like revolving doors. So I would ask also to delay this decision and give the new board an opportunity to really get a look at the entire process that you as directors went through in making this decision, that we all can understand what got us here. And so we're prepared to provide the right direction and the right counsel as the new board moves forward. So looking back on it, I'm very concerned that the number of closed sessions that occurred, and it is required in the Brown Act that there be a report out anytime a decision is made. And yet each closed session resulted in no action taken. When you make a decision even to advise someone, you've made a decision. And that's all part of being open and transparent to the public as to what you're doing. And I don't feel that this whole selection process has been open or transparent to anybody except yourselves. So I appreciate your effort and what you're trying to do. And I'm not faulting the person who's coming aboard if that's what you're going to do, because he's going to be left, in essence, to pick up the pieces with the result. I appreciate your time.
And again, to help explain this a little bit further, this decision, the main decision that we're looking at here today was made back in May, not today. That was when the decision was made to move forward for the purpose of the district and to keep the district afloat and not have so many positions unfilled, and the promises that we made to our interim general manager that we would not purposely delay this process. And that was the decision to move forward back in May when we involved the recruiter. With no further comment, we do have further comment.
Did I hear you say correctly that you're prepared to approve this contract and you do not know what the benefits package is going to be after 6 months?
I don't think you heard anyone say
I
that.
thought you said that.
No.
Okay, then I misunderstood what you said. There is a simple solution to the debate going on right now. And that is to change the terms of this contract and make it a 30-day contract, and then reevaluate in 30 days. This does a couple of important things, I think, here. Number one, it gives this new person, who you say walks on water, a chance to get his feet wet and learn a little bit more detail about what the job is going to entail in running the district. And it gives the new directors a chance to meet with him and exchange ideas among that group, since they're the people that are going to be working together, and shouldn't be a detriment to him sticking around for 30 days for that to occur. So that would seem to be the most logical conclusion. Just make it a 30-day contract, put it on the agenda, and reevaluate in 30 days.
And I can't imagine a general manager worth his weight would quit his job, quit a current job for a 30-day job somewhere else.
Then he wasn't worth hiring in the first place, and he wouldn't be willing to do that.
Any further public comment on this item? Mr. Fry.
Yes, what I find interesting about this is 3 people have been elected to serve on this board. Obviously, that's a majority. And I think that, given that that is a majority, I think that these 3 new people who were just elected should have the say-so in who should be selected. And the reason why I say that is because the new general manager is going to have to work with the 5 board members. And the other board members are going to be gone. The other thing that really concerns me is that only 3 of the 5 board members, if the decision is made today, are making that decision. And I think that that is really not fair to all the ratepayers. And so I get the sense, sitting back there, and I'm not one to criticize, but I get the sense, sitting back there and listening to all of this, is that you folks have your railroad hats on and you just want to drive it home. And that's really unfortunate. The people have spoken, and they have elected 3 new directors. And they have elected them because they're not happy with what is going on presently and what has been going on for several years. And they believe that the people they elected are going to do the job. And I happen to agree with them. So I think you need to put this off until the 3 new directors are seated. I think you're really being foolish to do anything else but that.
Hi, Terry Strange again. Yeah, I would recommend that maybe we explore some options with David, and one of them is to discuss with him a potential short-term leave of absence from his current position, or any other sort of agreeable situation to whereas the one individual had mentioned a 30-day contract or whatever it might be. I think there's solutions here. It's just an issue of really trying to work together and identify what those solutions would be to make everybody happy. I don't think it's going to necessarily create a hardship for any individual. And again, if you're so inclined, I would certainly wish to work with you in discussions of maybe how that process could happen, a short-term resolution for hopefully a long-term fix for the department or the district. Thank you.
I was never going to get a turn. I'm Vicki Mills, and what I'm going to say really hasn't got anything to do with what everybody else has been saying. My first question is to you, Scott. You said basically the decision was made after the 14th on those interviews. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, we did have discussions in the closed session meeting on the 14th.
And that was basically when you basically made the decision even though it wasn't finalized, correct?
To make an offer, yes.
Okay. Then my next question is, what happened to the closed session on the 16th that you had posted? Did you cancel it? Did you,
It was canceled.
it was canceled, and it was posted as canceled?
I'm not quite sure yet.
Where was it posted? Out here or on the website?
Mona is indicating that it was posted as being canceled.
Where at?
We posted on the web. I believe it was posted on the web. It was canceled.
Okay, because I did not see that, and that's why I wondered. Next thing, so that was the 14th, you had decided to make an offer. And yet, in the minutes of the 22nd, you did not come back and say that you had made a decision out of that closed session and were making an offer.
There was no reportable action from the, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Scott, that isn't a reportable action.
According,
Having sat on
Okay.
board and gone through these stupid Brown Act classes, that is definitely not a reportable action.
okay. I've gone through these Brown Act classes as well, and also reviewed with counsel on what is a Brown Act violation, and we've followed the rules to the T and provided as much report. If there has been any reportable action taking place in the meeting, it definitely would have been reported.
That would have been, that you had made a decision and were making an offer is a reportable action.
We're going to agree to disagree on that item, and our
Fine,
counsel,
my counsel says
our
it
counsel
is.
will disagree with you as well.
And fine, my counsel will disagree with him,
Okay.
because we ran into this at the fire department when we were having problems with chiefs, which is definitely a personnel issue on what was a reportable action and what wasn't. So, yeah, you have some problems with Brown Acts, or your counsel does, one of the two.
Morning, Marty Crane.
Morning.
We're hearing an awful lot from our public, those who we are charged with representing. And I understand your take on the reportable acts and the Brown Act and the closed sessions. In the interest of transparency, I don't and the comments made about maybe being a 30-day contract, I don't see that as a viable solution. And then another comment by Mr. Strange about a leave of absence. I'm thinking that if I was a director in another county, by this time, and looking at taking a new position on December 1st, by this time I would have already given notice. So I'm assuming that this person has already given notice. I don't hear anybody saying anything about negative about this selection. But I also hear them saying, we just take your word for it. We're just taking your word for it. This was just handed to us, the contract was just handed to us today, and no one's had an opportunity to really see it. So I'm just saying that in the interest of true transparency, I don't understand why, are we going to meet again in 2 weeks? No. When are we next meeting?
Mid-December, like the 10th or the 17th.
I just don't understand why this contract can't be posted on the site. And, I mean, when you look in here and you see all these, 65 days of paid leave, and that's another thing that it may just be because this person is on call 24/7. Is that correct? Is the director on call 24/7? And is that why there's such a large number of paid days off? I mean, none of us get that, you know, at least not to my knowledge. The general public doesn't get that kind of a benefit package. So I'm just wondering, in the interest of total transparency for the community and on behalf of the new majority of new members on the board, why this just can't be put off 1 month. That's all. Thank you.
I'm glad she brought up the idea of these closed sessions, because I reviewed the board packets that showed what you could see of all of the closed sessions, and I'm willing to be corrected, but at the end of each and every one of them, I believe it said no significant action taken or something like that. There wasn't any of them that showed that you were doing something when you were doing something. And I'm not even sure that could possibly be legal.
Matt, can you comment on that, that item as far as what constitutes reportable action from our closed sessions that have already taken place?
If there's a final action taken in closed section, then you would report it out. You've not taken a final action. The final action would be accepting the contract, which is done today in open session. There are certain things you can do in closed session regarding personnel and interviews, and those are intended to be confidential, so people who are interviewing don't necessarily lose their current positions, and that's why that's done in closed session. As far as specifics, and I'm not going to discuss anything further on that issue.
Okay, thank you. And in in an attempt to be further transparent, I would like to point out that when an offer the offer was made and a contract negotiated, in addition, Dave Egerton has, as Marty had guessed, has given notice at his current position. Mr. Fry.
Yes, I've seen a lot of agendas for boards, and when there's an item that's going to be discussed, whether it's a personnel item or a legal item, obviously those are done in closed session. But on the agenda, it says they're going into closed session because of this or because of that. I have never seen that on an agenda item with CCWD. And so my question is, and I'm pretty knowledgeable about the Brown Act, and I would like some clarification from Mr. Weber regarding that. In fact, if you look at the Board of Supervisors agenda when they go into closed session, they're very clear about the Brown Act with regard to either personnel items or legal items.
I'm not sure, I can respond. I'm not sure which agenda you were looking at, but normally our agenda this month does not have any closed sessions, but all of them has a line item that says closed session, and it lists either whether it's pending litigation, anticipated litigation, and it'll list the information on those.
If I may, somebody made a decision because to give an offer out that you not report on. There's a signature at the bottom of this. Somebody made a decision. Now, as far as the legality, I don't know. A lot of times, issues like that can be handled a hell of a lot cheaper by bringing this whole issue, the whole recording, to the State Bar Association. I had to deal with it before, and it wasn't exactly too good for the legal firm. You made a decision, you did not report. That's the bottom line. You can look at dates and all that stuff. This is not kosher, folks. And as much as I trust the board, which I don't, and I'm not talking about individual, when you get your butt up to the soapbox, you're not exactly high top of trust and respect as a director. This was going on, and that for some reason, not that I don't trust you folks, let's be clear, I don't trust you. There was a decision made to plug whoever the gentleman is in here before you leave. There's a contract signed over here by the gentleman, candidate. There was a decision made. It was not reported. Something stinks in here, folks. And your track record is not exactly squeaky clean. And it's not fair to the gentleman who applied for this job because he doesn't know who he's going to work for. Plus, he doesn't exactly going to get all the big trust that he's getting into. That's not fair to him. It's not fair to the new candidates. It's not fair to your ratepayers. This stinks, folks. Like it or not, this stinks. And you don't can that camera over there. You're not gonna go away with your head held high. You're pulling a funny on over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any new public comment, any new parties who'd like to make a comment on this agenda item? Again, any new, go ahead.
Thank you. Joe Kelly. Government Code Section 59450, the Brown Act. If you read the first section of the Brown Act, that takes priority over everything. Everything else below it is subsequent to it. That statement talks about our sovereignty. You're voted into place, put into place, but we're not giving you the ability to override our sovereignty and our understanding of what's going on. So whether it be under the code and you come in with a closed session and something gets done, you don't think it's reportable, but it is reportable, that's all subject to that section. But the people have sovereignty here. We don't give up our sovereignty because we elect you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We've discussed this, and again, most of the comments that we've heard today, I do want to go back that this process was started back in May, and we decided at that time to start the process, stopping it at this time. And again, at that time, none of us had made decisions on who's running again, none of us had opponents in a political process. We decided at that time that the right thing for the district is to not have these open positions, and again, promises were made to our interim general manager that we would move through the process and pick the best candidate, and it's not necessarily the best candidate for this board or the best candidate for the next board, it's the best candidate for the district.